2023 has been an interesting year for gaming in general, and the prices of various console games has been growing, with some dipping down. Now sadly, the PS Vita was not one of those consoles that dropped in price, and I doubt it ever will. And that's why I wanted to make this video on why you need a PS Vita in 2023. Now, for those that don't know much about the PS Vita, the system launched on December 11th, 2012, and it never saw much success in North America. What this means is that a lot of mainstream developers didn't put much time into creating games for it, but luckily certain publishers saw potential and started releasing PS Vita games primarily made by indie developers. The most popular publishers that did this were Limited Run Games and East Asia Soft. Both of these companies released hundreds of physical games, with many including custom box designs, artwork, and soundtracks. And while a lot of people were quick to begin buying up these limited releases, as the publishers often only released around 1,000 to 1,500 copies of a game physically, which means a lot of games on the PS Vita are limited edition, making them quite desirable. And this is one of the main reasons why I think right now is a great time to start buying PS Vita games and the system itself, because the demand for these games is only going to rise. There are a lot of games only released on the PS Vita in physical condition, and the consoles themselves are also becoming kind of hard to find. As of 2023, you are still able to find a few PS Vita systems for around $150 to $180 Canadian, which is actually pretty cheap considering you can just mod the system and emulate them to play whatever you want. On top of that, the PS Vita has one of the best screens on the handheld market, with a beautiful OLED display, making it a great way to play games on the go. So if you haven't already purchased a PS Vita, now is a great time to nab one. But there is one very important thing you should purchase with it, and that's an SD2 Vita adapter. For those that don't know, the PS Vita has its own memory card, which is stupidly expensive for how much storage you actually get. So I highly recommend you grab one of these adapters for around $5 online, as it makes storing all your games much easier. And along with that, another thing you should do is jailbreak your Vita, so you can use custom themes, play homebrew games, and many other things. At the moment, I have my PS Vita jailbroken running Henkaku, and I use the PKG store to download all the games I already own physically. The reason I do this is because it saves me from having to insert the game cartridges all the time and carry them around physically. If you haven't done this already, I highly recommend you do. What makes this system so great is just the level of customization you can do with it. There is so much content for the system that it can honestly be overwhelming at times, but that's what's so awesome about it. If you are wanting to emulate, play PS Vita games, watch movies, or just use the console as a screensaver, you can do all of that, and for free. Oh, and if you're wanting to get a special edition system from Japan, you'll be happy to know that they are not region locked, and you can oftentimes get systems cheaper overseas, although keep in mind there's still a thing called duties. But regardless, for anyone on a budget, the PS Vita is a great system to own. Now, if you are not on a budget, then this system can be a great one to collect for, but keep in mind it's going to cost you, as none of these games are probably ever going to drop in price. What I mean by this is a lot of the limited run titles cost about $40 to $50 upwards on the secondhand market, and even basic Sony release games are still worth a good chunk. If you're wanting to find $5 games like the DS and 3DS has, this probably isn't the system to collect for, but if you're willing to put some cash forward, you will get some amazing titles, some of which only ever got a physical release on the Vita. So I'm going to go over a few titles I would recommend downloading or getting physically on your PS Vita if you ever get the chance. Now this is going to be mainly indie titles and games I don't see many other people chatting about, so just keep that in mind. Okay, so the first game I recommend you checking out is Risk of Rain. This game is an excellent roguelike action platformer which has a lot of replayability. You'll find yourself completing the story with various characters and trying to finish the levels as fast as possible, since the difficulty ramps up as time progresses. Also, this game was made by 2 university students using the Game Maker engine, which is pretty cool. Alright, so next up we have BloodStained Curse of the Moon. This game is a love letter to the Castlevania series, and it had its start as a Kickstarter project. Luckily, this one actually delivered on its promise of being a reinvented clone of the NES Castlevanias, and if you're worried about the difficulty, you don't have to, because the developers implemented a retro difficulty and casual difficulty, which makes it accessible to casual players. This game is definitely worth checking out. And on the note of casual games, the next title I'd recommend is Paddle Box. This game takes on a black and white graphical style and switches up the classical Punch-Out gameplay from the NES era. On top of that, the storyline and music are great, and the gameplay offers variety by having open-ended sections where you can walk around and explore. This is a great title to grab if you have to burn some time. And the last and final recommendation for the PS Vita titles is Scourge Bringer. This is another fast roguelike platformer that gives you a lot of different ways to move. You'll find yourself getting various different abilities and power-ups each time you play the game. Along with that, you will have randomly generated levels which make the game very replayable. If you are a fan of games like Enter the Gungeon and Rogue Legacy, this is a must grab. So to conclude, whether you're a collector or a casual gamer, the PS Vita is definitely worth grabbing. This system has all your bases covered, and right now is a great time to grab some games for it before they become harder to find. Just the fact that this system is about 12 years old at this point is crazy because the hardware for this thing was ahead of its competition. In the coming future, people are only going to notice this system more and more. And well, as of making this video, the 3DS store has just closed and everyone seems to be on a 3DS purge. That just makes right now an even better time to fill out your PS Vita collection before others take notice. Anyways, with that said, I just want to say thank you for watching to the end of the video, as it does really mean a lot. Please subscribe if you haven't, and I hope you have an amazing day. Bye.